Today we're talking with Jenny Camarena, and basically her family has been producing tequila for many generations. Her grandfather, her brother, a lot of the family have always tried to do something different besides producing tequila. But you're going to hear her story, her grandfather's story, her brother's story, and how it just keeps pulling them into to making some of the best tequila on the planet. So have a listen. She's the director of operations at the distillery that produces El Tesoro, who we're going to be talking to today. Stay tuned. We will figure it out. We just went live. This is like the third time we're trying to do this. We were at the distillery yesterday. The power or the Wi-Fi went out. You're at your mom's house today. Is that right?
Yes. I'm at my mom's house.
Some parrots downstairs, and then my power just went out. So we're gonna keep our fingers crossed and to see what happens. So let's try this again. I think it's our third try. Jenny, just let's start off. Tell the audience a little bit about who you are. Let's touch upon your family a little bit, and then we'll get into it some more.
Okay, let's do it. Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for being so patient about this. My name is Jenny Camarena. I'm the director of operations of La Altena Distillery. And well, this is a complete family business. It all started with my grandfather in 1937. Apparently, our family is full of traditions, and one of them is thinking that we are not into the tequila producing. So my father started the distillery because 5 generations ago, speaking from nowadays, our family was living out of growing agave, not producing tequila. So about that time, 85 years ago, you can imagine that there were not plenty of distilleries around here. And my grandfather, you're out of power again? Sorry.
I'm coming back. Just keep going.
Okay. Well, at that time, my grandfather was a agave supplier into the valley, but we face every 7 or 10 years these crazy or stupid cycles in the agave industry, because right now we are facing kind of a shortage, so the prices are really high. At that time, it was the opposite. There were plenty of agave, the prices were really low, but nobody was buying agave. So at that time, all the customers from the valley didn't need any agave from the highlands, from my grandfather. They were like, you know what? We have plenty of agave. It's cheap. It's here. We don't have to pay anything to bring it from the highlands. So thank you very much. We don't need your agave. We're sorry, but that's how it is. So my father here in the highlands, my grandfather, sorry, here in the highlands, didn't have any more customers. There were not a lot of distilleries to buy agave. So he had to choose between losing all this agave, all this investment, money, time, effort, you choose the words, or turn it into something that he could actually sell, like tequila. So he decided to turn that agave into tequila and try to get a little bit of money back of that investment. And I think he did something good, because 85 years later, we are still here. We are still making the same tequila.
Yeah.
And that's how it started. He never meant to be a tequila producer.
Wow.
And
yeah, go on.
That story repeats.
Yeah.
With my father, with my brother, with myself, we never intended to be tequila producers. My father was a chemical engineer. He was working in Mexico City at that time. He had a really good job offers. And my grandfather was like, hey, you know what? I'm tired of being in charge of this. It's your turn. Come back to Arandas and please take care of the company, because I'm going to retire. And my father was like, what? No. But he had to. So once he was in here, he fell in love of what he was producing. And well, I met my father, or I came in the picture when he was a little bit old. So I grew up with him as a partner in crime because
So did he take you around all the time? Did he take you to the
all the time,
distillery? Yeah.
all the time. He never wanted me to go to kindergarten because those 3 years were special with me and him at the
Mm,
fields. He was not willing to waste that time being
wow.
me in the kindergarten. So my childhood was with him in the fields, in the distillery. He taught me how to write and read
Mm.
because he didn't want me to go to the kindergarten. And well, to me, it was like a playground with
Mm.
him, going
Yeah.
to the distillery in the fields. It never it never felt like work.
Mm.
He never, to me at that age, he never looked like he was working. He was having fun.
Wow.
And at that time, the guy that was like the actual person that was working really hard, stressed and in charge of the thing, was Carlos. So I was like, okay, this guy is working. I'm playing with my dad. So thanks, big brother. I'm going with my dad.
Mm.
And Carlos didn't want to be a tequila producer either. He's an agronomist. He wanted to be at the fields and leaving my dad in the desk job.
Wow.
But at some
How much older is your brother than you?
Carlos,
Yeah.
24 years older than
Liz?
me.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
funny because here at Arandas, everybody knows everybody.
Right.
And nowadays, some people stops me in the street and goes, "Hey, how's your uncle Carlos?" And I'm like, "He's my brother, but yeah, he's fine. Hey, how's your grandma?" "Well, she's my mom, but she's good. Thanks for asking." I mean, that age difference
Yeah.
is big.
Yeah.
No offense, big brother, but yeah, it's big.
So your brother didn't want to be in the business either,
No,
and basically they
he's
were
an
like,
agronomist. He
yeah,
wanted to be in charge of the fields of the agave.
okay,
That was his passion.
yeah,
And the story was repeated once again. My father was like, "You know what? I'm tired. I wanted to be in the fields. So now you come to the desk." And he was like, "No, that's not the plan." And my father was like, "Okay, plans change. So now you come here and sit. If you have any questions, I'll be in the fields with
yeah.
me, of course."
So you
So
eventually went to school,
yep.
obviously, and you went to college, and you studied for architecture. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. I went to Guadalajara to get my degree. I'm an architect, and once again the story repeated. At some point, Carlos asked me if I was interested to come back to Arandas and be part of this. And I used to think that I wasn't. I was like, no,
Well, what were
I'm
you doing at the
working.
time when he asked you to come back? What were you doing?
I was working with an architect firm with Elias
Hmm.
Rizzo, and I was
Right.
designing, I was building, I
Wow.
was supervising the constructions, and I was really happy. I mean, I studied architecture for that reason, right?
Yeah.
And he asked me to come back, and I was like, no, thank you. I'm good. I'm
Hmm.
having fun. I'm learning. I'm building this great experience. So thanks, Bernard. And he was patient, and he was like, okay. A few months later, he asked again because Fanny, my niece, she was coming back also to Arandas to get involved in the distillery, and Fanny and me basically grew up together. We were partners in crime when we were
Hmm.
kids. We were playing all the time. I was most of the time at Fanny's place, at Carlos' place. So our relationship was really close, like since forever. And he was like, "Hey, Fanny's coming back. Do you want to come back?" As you know, trying to convince me.
Right.
And I was like, "No, I mean, Fanny is studied marketing, so she's more involved into the family business, but architect, no, thank you." And he was like, "Okay, just keep thinking about it. This is your heritage. This is this is yours." But think about it. And I was like, okay. And a couple of weeks later, uh, I I think I was in a dinner with Felipe, my other brother, and he scratched that a little bit again, but not that polite as Carlos. He was like, "Hey, I'm super glad that you're an architect, that you're working, that you're developing yourself, but don't you realize that this is yours?
Mm,
Uh, you're playing to be an architect, good for you. You're working for someone else, good
mm,
for you. But this is the big deal. I mean, you are who you are, and you studied what you studied, and you are where you are because of this,
wow.
because this is your whole life. So please don't you dare to say that you're not interested, because this is your family. So
Mm,
please take a break or whatever you want and come here and at least give it a try. And I
yeah.
was like, okay. So that wasn't an invitation, that was like a suggestion.
A guilting you into trying it out.
I think so, but it worked
Mm,
because I decided to give it a chance. I was sure that I was not gonna be happy here, or I was not gonna like it.
yeah.
So I spoke with my boss at that time, with Elias, and I asked him for 2 months, kind of 2 months vacation
Mm,
to give it a try here.
right.
And he was like, okay, you can have your vacation. Uh, and I was like, but please save my job here. I'm coming back. I'm truly coming back. I want to be here with you. And he was like, yeah, okay, you can have your 2 months, but you're not coming back. And I'm like, why not? I'm telling you, I'm an architect. I think I'm good at it. And he's like, no, yeah, you're good, but you're not coming back. And I was upset because how this guy could know better than me, right? And he was like, Jenny, it's in your blood. There's no way that
Mm,
once you try it, you come back here with me. I
mm,
appreciate your job, your effort. We're super happy with you, but that's your destiny. It's in your blood.
wow.
And I was like, oh, this guy is too romantic. Nah, it's not gonna happen. And I came here 7 years ago,
Wow.
and I think that I should probably call Elias and tell him that I'm not coming back. I think he's maybe waiting for me. Maybe, I don't know. And I'm
So
still
what?
here.
You tried out the distillery for 2 months. Tell me about that 2 months. What opened up your eyes? Did your family keep guilting you, or did you get there and something inside said, okay, maybe I am supposed to be here? What happened in those 2 months that led to you being there for 7 years?
Well, my family was really happy. They were, all of them, including my mom, were proud and were happy to me giving it a shot, right? To
Mm-hmm.
be honest, I didn't know anything about tequila. The only thing that I knew at that time was that my family made it, that it was good, and that my friends can have good tequila when they have a party because I have it. I had it. But that was it. I didn't
Right.
know a thing about tequila. I remember that the first time that I was walking around the distillery, well, not the first time, but now that I came back, I was looking at the ovens, and I
Mm,
was thinking like, maybe we can fit in here about 8 tons of agave. There were 50 tons. Just imagine the
wow.
knowledge that I had. Nothing,
Right.
zero,
Right.
nothing. So when I was there, my family was happy to finally me trying.
Yep.
But the truth was that once that I got to the distillery, I had my desk and I put out all my computer and everything, and I was like, okay, what am I doing here?
Now what?
Now what? Okay, here's the coffee machine. Now what? And the truth was that my position there didn't exist.
Mm,
I was in charge of new projects as an architect.
mm.
They didn't need me. Actually, they didn't. It took me about 2 weeks to find out that I'm not doing anything important here, anything at all.
Right.
So Carlos came with me and was like, okay, now I truly know that you know nothing. So please take the first steps. Go to
Mm,
the fields with the jimadores, with all the people in the fields. Learn, see, smell, try to do it of course I couldn't, but feel it,
Right.
get involved. And I remember when I was a little girl and my father took me everywhere, my favorite person to be with were two jimadores, which were Memo
Mm.
and Silvestre. And my surprise was that almost 30 years later, I
They're
went
still
to the
there.
fields and they were still,
Wow.
they, yeah, I found them. I was like,
Wow.
wow. And they were like, hey, what are you doing here? I'm here to learn. Come over. And, all the stories. Remember you when you were a kid? Remember what this time? Remember when you said this? And I was like, wow, they are
Wow.
still here and they remember me.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it was so easy to be like part of it, to learn, to be with them, to talk, to ask questions, to get really great answers. It felt so natural. And after being in the fields, Carlos said, okay, now please go to the distillery and do the same thing.
Mm.
Get involved, learn, smell, taste, feel, ask questions. And my other surprise was that also at the distillery, I saw all my babysitters. I saw Fidel Zúñiga, I saw Don Daniel, I saw Don Juan,
Mm.
Vicente, Johnny, and I was like, what are you still doing here? I mean, after all these years? And they were like, yeah, we were waiting for you. So once again, it felt so natural to be
Yeah.
there, to ask questions, to get in touch with everything. Of course,
Mm.
all of the technical questions uh, I could approach to my brother and ask them, and it was really great. I I I fell in love of that
Mm.
situation, of
Yeah.
of that feeling to be at
It's like
home with
home.
family.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
that's the word.
Wow. Wow.
And I made an arrangement with Carlos. I took a degree, a master's degree about tequila production because I was learning, but I needed more information because I wanted
Mm.
to actually uh, be able to make decisions, to understand, to make changes, to be somebody there, not only
Right.
part of the staff, but to be somebody there. And I took this master's degree, and the arrangement with Carlos was that when all the production uh, classes or learning end, I will move then to bottling plant to learn about suppliers, administration, logistics, selling, buying, everything.
Mm.
But to be honest, when I started, I think it was the last semester of the degree, and those were the subjects that I had to face. I was so sad because I had to leave the distillery. I mean, the bottling plant is
Mm.
just like 100 meters away, but I felt that like I was leaving forever or something. I mean, it was a drama queen moment for me. And Carlos was like, "Okay, now it's time for you to come and learn into this area." And I remember that I was like, "Oh yeah, I need to go to the restroom. Can you hold 5 minutes?" Yeah, sure. And I went to the restroom to cry, to actually
Oh,
cry, because I
wow.
didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave La Alteña, that building, that area. I didn't want to leave all these people and all this process that is so alive,
Mm.
all these memories. I didn't want to leave. And I was not living like forever or to
Right.
another city. I was just in the building across the yard. But I think that was the moment that I
Mm.
realized that that was the place that I want to be. I
Right.
wanted to stay there. And that's why 7 years later,
Wow.
never left. And I'm not intending to leave any soon because I love this so much.
Wow.
I remembered Elias' words, it's in my blood.
Yeah.
How can I not fall in love with something that is in my blood? And
Wow.
I loved it, and I'm currently there. So if
Wow.
you come and visit, you'll see me there because I'm not leaving.
Do you have kids?
No, not yet.
Okay. All right. I was gonna say, I'm sure your kids are not gonna want to be there.
I'm sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure. Absolutely sure.
It seems like your whole family is trying to run away from tequila, but everyone ends up being
It
there.
pulls us back again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's amazing. So tell me about the last 7 years for you. I mean, what was your role in the beginning? What is it now? I mean, you just run the distillery these days. Like, what's your day to day look like?
Well, at the beginning, I was kind of like the assistant of
Mm.
the director of operations because I was learning.
Yep.
But I was getting involved in the decisions making, of course, with a background, with a good research, with a real formation in the matter. So nowadays that I am actually the director of operations, I well everything starts at 7 a.m. in the morning, so I'm there. I don't like to be late because everything happens when you're not there. So I like to be there.
Yep.
And basically my role is to be well, I make a tour at the beginning of the day, step from step,
Mm.
in the patio, looking the agave quality, uh, making all the programming all the activities, the cooking in the ovens, the tauna crushing. Uh, then I go with the guys in fermentation to see how are the tanks evolving, if we are having a proper work with the yeast and everything. And the final step in my super hard day to day job is in distillation,
Mm.
because it's 8 in the morning, but somebody has to do the quality control, and I go and take a sip from the still just to make sure that everything is good. It's my
Of
job.
course, of course. So you mentioned the Tahona wheel. To me, what I know about your distillery and you and your process, there's a lot of tradition in
Yeah.
making tequila that you guys are still doing. I know a lot of other brands. I mean, I feel like there's a new tequila brand every 3 days. And I don't, and you got to kind of try to learn how they made it or what they put in it. Tell me about a little bit about the traditional way of making tequila and how you all do it at that distillery, because I'm getting to a point where it's very rare to see like traditional tequila being made today. I just feel like it's being pumped out. I don't know how people are making it today, but what's the difference between your distillery, other distilleries, and kind of the traditions that you guys have been keeping over the last 80 years?
Well, the way that we make tequila has been the same since I remember when I was a little girl with my dad. Uh, we use brick ovens,
Hmm.
which are nothing more like a big room, and the agave is cooked only with steam. It's our process. I know that currently we have autoclaves, diffusers, and everything. At the end of the day, produces tequila.
Yep.
What's the difference? The profile, and every customer decides what they like and what they don't. But in our case, we have been using the brick ovens forever. Uh, we use extremely fully grown agave. We like it pinto with the red stains,
Hmm.
kind of like a banana. When you buy
Yeah.
bananas and they are still yellow, you know that they're good, but they could be a little better. If you look at the banana and you see the black dots, you know that it's super ripe, maybe about to get bad.
Yep.
This is kind of what we are looking in the agave. The red stains in the banana would be the black dots
Hmm.
that let us know that it's fully grown, that is super mature, and that's what we're looking for. After the steam cooking, which takes about 42 hours plus an extra day to chill it down, because at the distillery, the ovens are loaded by hand, so they're unloaded also by hand, but we need to chill them a little bit because otherwise the people won't be able to do it. So we take about 3 days to get a 50-ton oven of agave, fully cooked, and then start the extraction of the sugar that we are looking for. At the distillery, we have two ways of taking that sugar out, which is a roller mill and a
Hmm.
taona stone. The taona is used 100% for El Tesoro, and for Tapatio, which is our other brand, our oldest brand, we use kind of 70% in the roller mills, 30% in the taona, because the profiles get really different when you're using 100% taona or not. Why is it different? Because imagine that you are making a salsa in a molcajete or in a blender. When you
Mm.
are working with the molcajete, you are still working with all the pulp and all the skin, the seeds of the tomatoes, of the onions, everything that you're adding to the salsa. When you're working with a blender, you
Mm.
can make the exactly same ingredients, but you make the salsa more homogenic, but
Hmm.
the consistency and the textures are different.
Yeah.
Happens the same with the taona. We're working with the fibers, with the pulp, with so many aspects that gives complexity and intensity to the profile. That is amazing. Also, think about the stone. It's volcanic stone. It's super hard, but at the same time, it's easy to the word, well,
Yeah.
to
I get what you're
the
saying.
friction.
Yeah. Right. Right.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
need a tequila to get a better English, a more fluently English.
I
But
I
yeah,
love I love your analogies. I mean, that's really good. The salsa analogy. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like I said, we host Arte Agave, which is a tequila mezcal festival, and we have so many brands under the sun and so many new brands. And sometimes I see the color of certain tequilas.
right.
I mean, this is your anejo, and
Hmm.
it's not it's not extremely dark.
Oh,
And every time I'm working with El Tesoro and Carla, who's your brand ambassador, she does some events for us, and it's like I always tell people that too. I'm like, if you get a reposado and it's like the color of your backdrop there, I'm like,
yeah,
something's
right.
something's wrong. It should not be orange. It should not have that color. And I think that was one of the things that I discovered a few years ago. I'm like, oh, there's so much people could just add
Of
caramel
course.
coloring or sugars or agave, whatever they want to it. And I think that's really disappointing. I love the fact that you all don't do that. It's just
No.
it's tequila and then it goes into a bottle and that's what people are drinking.
And it's I think that maybe the movie industry has made us think
Mm,
that the darker the better, because you
right.
can see, I don't know,
The aging.
James Bond
Right.
having a whiskey and it's super dark, and Bond is always fancy and expensive and extravagant.
Right.
And if you are not that into tequila, if you are like a beginner in the tequila world and you are looking for something to try, maybe you will look for something that color, because
Right.
in the movies, in the television, you see that that's the fancy stuff, and
Mm,
you may not looking for something that light, or you will think, oh, this is more, I don't know, more simple.
yeah.
But it's not. In our case, we only let the process to tell the story. What the taona needs to say is there, what the agave needs to say is there. Also in fermentation. In fermentation is where all the magic happens. All,
Hmm.
all the flavors and all the aromas are developing right there. And then in distillation is where we separate those amazing things that we created in fermentation. In distillation is where we separate it and put it in your glass like a blanco.
Mm,
What we get from distillation is blanco, and that is the base for all the reposados, añejos, and extrañejos. What makes an extrañejo or an añejo what it is? The aging, not the
mhm.
coloring, the
Right.
aging. The interaction that happens between the liquid and the wood. And in our case, all of our barrels are ex-bourbon barrels,
Mm,
ex-whiskey barrels. So all that story, all that uh, fusion that is happening there is what makes a reposado or an añejo. It's a funny thing that you mentioned the color, because yeah, a lot of people is like, hey, I got this bottle from whatever batch you remember or year, and then I got this one and the color is different, and we're like, yes, then
yep.
we're good. Be concerned if
Yeah.
you buy one from last year and one from 7 years ago and one today, and they are all the same.
Same color.
Then you gotta be concerned, because there's no possible way that naturally you
Yeah.
get the
Same
same
exact thing.
color every time.
Yeah.
So maybe you should wonder, why is everything the same? But if
Yeah.
nobody is there to actually let you know that
Yep.
different colors are fine, you'll never know. And you are going to, like, if you get a Coca-Cola, the same color every time. If you take your Coca-Cola lighter, you will be like, there's
Yeah.
something wrong. And
Yep.
in our case, it's the exactly opposite
Opposite.
direction.
Yeah, and that's what I try to tell people, because then I tell people with your story with James Bond and whiskey. It's like, that's bourbon. It's aged in a new barrel, and it's
Right?
aged 5, 6, 7, 8 years. That's where you're getting that color from. Tequila's using an X barrel, and a reposado might be 8 months, 9 months. So if you see a
Exactly.
dark reposado, that's my quick little answer for people. I'm like, just be careful when you see a color that doesn't
Yeah.
look natural. You want like a light tint to it. Obviously, a Neho will be a little bit more darker, or an extra Neho. But that's kind of my go-to quickly with people. It's just look at the color, because there's some strange looking tequilas out there
Yes. Yeah.
where I'm just like, there's so much caramel added to this. It's unbelievable. And I tell people, I'm like, listen, if that's your thing, if you like to drink a sugar daddy, help yourself. But if you want
Yeah.
to taste something else, just don't be scared, because it's just the light color on it.
And it's possible, maybe you will find a reposado that is really dark. If your barrels
Yeah.
are brand new and you recently burned them, of course it's possible, but don't expect anything smooth or
Yeah.
creamy. It would be super aggressive. It would be super harsh, a lot of wood, really astringent. So it's possible, but if you get that color with vanilla flavor and florals and whatever, it's not right, my
Yeah.
friend. It's something weird there,
Yeah.
and it's respectable. If you like it, go for it. But if you're looking for something authentic, maybe that's not the answer.
Yeah. So I mean, it's got to be. I mean, I'm just guessing it's got to be more expensive to do it the way you're doing it. I see all these
Yes.
new distilleries kind of popping up, and I'm sure they're made to produce profit. Um, how come you never changed the Tohona wheel? Like, you guys just kept doing it.
Well, in our case, our brands have history.
Yeah.
Tapatio has been there for 85 years. El
Wow.
Tesoro has been there for about maybe 30 years.
Yeah.
So if we know, we are really aware that if we switch any aspect of our process, our profiles won't be recognizable.
Yeah.
If you are a consumer that are committed with us and we switch from the Taona to something else, you would be like, this is not it. What
Mm.
did you do? What did you
Yeah.
change? And that's also a policy or a request from our father. When he had the opportunity to make bigger the distillery, he built more brick ovens exactly the same as he wanted,
Wow.
and he built some rooms. Even they spent years and years empty, but he was looking to the future. And he said once, not to me because I was really young, but to my brothers and sisters, that he was building that expecting for the time that we needed to grow, to be bigger
Mm.
and to produce more. But he was asking or giving us the, with his example, with his work, the lead to be bigger, but not switching anything. Please don't switch from brick ovens to autoclaves.
Mm.
Please don't switch from wooden vats for the fermentation to stainless. Just bring more and put them in the floor upstairs that I'm building. Just make twice or three times more, but in the same thing that I'm teaching you.
Wow.
Please don't switch to huge stainless steels for distillation. Bring more, but please make them small
Mm.
and with copper. So we have that intention to remain doing what we are doing. If we need to produce more, we we will buy more of the same. We will not switch anything.
Yeah.
And for many in the industry, it's a stupid way to be because you duplicate your expenses
Yep.
in order to duplicate your production.
Yeah.
And I'm really aware that in the massive industry, you don't have to specifically duplicate your expenses to duplicate your production. You can bring a bigger machine, a faster machine,
Yep.
and duplicate it, but just buying one more thing but we are not willing to do that because this is one of the reasons why Altena is known, because
Yeah.
we work this way. We're the stupidest in the industry, but we like to being that way, and we're not switching. This
I
is
don't
how
think
we.
so. I was a bartender for 20 years, and I've been doing consumer events with tequila for 10 years, and everyone has opinions on different brands. But when it comes to, like, I'm just, mention El Tesoro, it's just well respected everywhere. No one ever says, no, I'm not really into that. Every bartender, and I'm from New York, every place you go to in New York and you ask about or talk about El Tesoro, everyone is just like, yeah, that's amazing tequila, amazing tequila. There's no one I've ever met, and if they do, they're a liar, that says, no, I don't really like El Tesoro. If you say that, you're a liar, or you
You're
don't know
lying, and
tequila,
we know it.
and we know it, or you don't like tequila. So there is something to say about the traditional method. So I mean, I don't think you're stupid. I know, like I said, every consumer that's ever had your brand, or every bartender I've ever worked with, always loved and always respected it. And it's
Well,
always, it's
thank
a
you.
favorite. It's a favorite in our house as well. So job well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And don't expect to be any changes soon.
Good. Well, I mean, with that being said, is there anything innovative that you are doing? Is there any new products going down? Anything aged in something kind of fun and crazy? Um,
Well, we have been working, experimenting a couple of years ago. You gotta know that we were the first crazy people in the industry. My father was that crazy guy in the industry that actually started to making these uh, collaborations
mm,
with the barrels. This works with the barrels.
yep.
Paradiso was the first brand that was aged in cognac barrels
Mm,
and also bottled in a bottle that it was similar to a wine bottle. They were like, "What are you doing? This doesn't look like tequila." And how do you dare to put tequila in a cognac barrel? Are you trying to make cognac?
mm.
And my father, he has this uh, sarcastic humor, and he was like, "No, I'm not trying to make any cognac. If I was trying to make cognac, I would move to France, and I'm not. So this is tequila, just working with a cognac barrel." So
Yeah.
we were the first crazy people doing those insane ideas. Insane
Now,
ideas.
now, now, everyone does it.
Everyone does it,
Everybody.
and we are trying to go further than that, right? We are now a couple of years ago. We started working with Lafroig barrels,
Mm,
which was a really interesting result. We didn't know what to expect, but it was really interesting because in the tequila industry we are not used to that pittiness that Lafroig has, but it was
yeah.
really good. And recently, for example, we released the 85th anniversary, which was also a collaboration with these amazing 30th anniversary Booker's barrels, which was
Mm,
really interesting. So uh, it's something that I have been talking with friends and family. It's funny because nowadays, as you said, you find new brands every 3 days,
yeah.
and many of them are trying to back, go back to basics,
Yep.
to be innovative. They are bringing a town crushed product, fermented with fiber product, and to be honest, we already do that. So
Mm,
that innovation part, to
right.
go back to basics, we already have it.
Mm,
So what's the next step? We are not even considering making cristalinos or colored tequilas or flavored tequilas. What we are looking for is to make these collaborations like the Lafroig and the Booker's barrels to
mm,
see what else can we make, but always respecting the profile and the story of the original tequila. And this 85th anniversary Booker's barrels release is really interesting because you are bringing the best of both worlds of a great limited edition that was Booker's for 30th anniversary, and the base of tequila of Tesoro Blanco that everybody already knows, just putting them together and not trying to cover any of those. Not the Bookers to El Tequila or El Tequila to Bookers.
Hmm.
So these are our new kind of projects, kind of crazy ideas to still work with something that is not common in the agave
Yep.
industry, but not adding anything, not covering anything, not hiding anything. Just see what happens there.
Yeah, I love how you said that a lot of brands are launching and they're innovating by doing traditional stuff. I find that fascinating. I mean, that shows you how far away we've gotten from traditional methods, that new brands are like, we're going to do traditional stuff. But you've been doing it for the last 80 years, which is really
Exactly.
cool. So tell me a little bit. I mean, you touched upon being with your dad super young, before kindergarten. You know, what was it like in the household? I mean, you seem like you're full of super smart people, entrepreneurs, people that don't seem to have any fear of, you know, growing plants. I mean, when your grandfather was like, well, no one's buying my agave, I'll just start a distillery and start making tequila. Most people would shut down, you know, or they would
Yeah.
fold with something like that. Obviously, your grandfather didn't. Your dad innovated. You know what I mean? So, are you just a family full of entrepreneurs, or give me a little behind the curtain, if you can, on that family dynamic and the work ethic that you all seem to have?
I think I'm in a family full of stubborn people. That's how I see them because they, for example, our great grandfather, who was the one that started the agave production situation here, he was named as a crazy person because agave wasn't even in this region.
Mm,
He bring the agave from outside, from the Valley of Tequila, and started to plant it in here. And I've heard this story that the workers that were with my grandfather were like, "Hey, Don Pedro, he was Don Pedro, you are paying us to plant this thing here that you can't eat because you can eat it, and some years later you are going to pay us to take it out and still not eating it. This is crazy. This is stupid. But hey, if you are paying, we
right.
can do it." And
Wow.
actually it has the shape of a pineapple when it's
Yep.
a really young plant, and that's why everybody in this region started to call him a piña, a pineapple, because they were like, this is kind of like a piña, but it's not a piña, we can eat it. So even then, my great grandfather was a stubborn guy, a really crazy guy. And to be honest, all of my siblings and my father has this really strong personality.
Mm.
We are stubborn. Uh, we're not that easy. And every time that I faced, because I was a little girl, my father knew and crazy ideas, and he was discussing them with Carlos. They were always arguing about it. Both of them had this really strong vision of, no, it's not going to work, and the other one was like, yeah, it's going to work, and if it doesn't work, I don't care because it was my idea and I did it my way and whatever. So I grew up in a really stubborn family, but
Mm.
now I realize that all those are ideas at some point were crazy,
Yeah.
but nowadays they were good ideas. And the ones that were not good ideas, they also had that lesson of, okay, this is not working, let's do it this way,
Right.
let's go this way.
Yeah.
So to me, he's been a really challenging challenging family
Mm.
because they never surrendered to anything. none
Mm.
none of them, not my father, not my brother Carlos, not Felipe, not even my sisters. They're like, no, I said this and I'm doing it, and if it's wrong, I don't care, but I did it.
Wow.
And when
Yeah.
you're a child, it's kind of intimidating to see them all like super strong and really secure about what they're saying, and you're like, okay, what if I make a mistake? but
Mm.
but it's super. I like it. I like the
Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. But if you look at, I mean, name any great entrepreneur, if you hear their story, it's the same thing. You're
Yeah,
crazy.
crazy idea.
You're
Yeah,
crazy. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Why are you? No one's going to buy your burgers. No one's going to do your thing. No one, like every great
right.
entrepreneur, from the guy who whatever invented McDonald's up to Steve Jobs and everything in between, was always mocked, was always called crazy. No one had
Yep.
any clue what he was doing. And I completely respect people like that, because I mean, I think we live in a day and age now where nobody takes chances. Everybody
No,
wants to be safe. Everybody wants to, like, I just want to do this
we
and
are
make a little bit of
afraid.
money. But then there's sadness and depression and all this stuff because no one's doing what they wanted to do. No one took a chance. No one's doing what they loved. And the fact that your grandfather was being made fun of, calling the pineapple man, and he said, "Too
The
bad,
crazy pineapple
I'm
man,
crazy pineapple
right?
man. I'm just gonna do it." Like I said, you call yourselves crazy or stubborn, but I mean, I think it's, if you're gonna be an entrepreneur, and you all are, you know what dedication that takes. You know what you have to come to work every day and say, okay, we've got to innovate, we've got to do something different, we've got to work. It's really hard to be a true bred entrepreneur, and obviously your family has it. So I think it's amazing, and I love hearing the story of, you're crazy, this will never work. Yeah, and then fast forward 80 years, and agave is, I mean, in America, it's now number one. New York, more tequila is being sold than vodka, bourbon, whiskey. So that innovation to see ahead of where this could go is, I love it. I think it's amazing. And to me, I'm like, call me crazy, call me the
We
pineapple
are.
man. Yeah.
Then we are more crazy people. Plenty of crazy people in this world. And I'll tell you another story. I
Please.
think that you already know it. Uh, my father, I don't know, 30 years ago, he made El Tesoro muy añejo. I don't know if
Mm.
you have seen that bottles that has the label muy añejo. In English, is very añejo.
Yeah.
And it was a whole situation with the CRT because they were, hey, there's only three
Mm.
classes of tequila: blanco, reposado, and añejo.
Okay.
There's no muy añejo, that doesn't exist. And my father was like, well,
It
mine
does now.
is very añejo because añejo is 1 year old and mine is not. Mine is 2 or 3 or I don't know. So mine is
Mm.
muy añejo. And the CRT was like, no, this doesn't exist. Please be reasonable. And he was like, no, I'm being reasonable. Understand that my tequila is muy añejo. And he stuck with that, with muy añejo for years. And nowadays, guess what? Now we
Extra,
have
extra añejo
extra
everywhere.
añejo.
Everywhere.
So at some point, that stubbornness of my father
Yeah.
brought the necessity or the need of a new category, which was extra añejo.
Yeah.
As now we have cristalinos, and who knows
Mhm.
what else are we going to get. But at that moment, the crazy muy añejo guy was my father, and now we have extra añejos in the
Yeah.
market.
Wow, that is that's amazing, and thank you for sharing your story and your family's story. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule and talking to us today. And like I said, the brands El Tesoro have been part of our Arte Agave festivals for many
Thank
years.
you.
Um,
Thank you so
so
much.
thanks for sharing your story. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thank you for asking. Thank you for the patience of the crazy lady stories.
All good. I'm glad we made this work. And no, I love the stories. And like I said, I think some people just look at a shelf and they see 80 bottles and they don't know what anything is. And sometimes it's just getting to know the people behind the brand, and then you get to know the quality of that brand and how that brand is made. And I think there's a lot of noise, a lot of white noise out there, and people don't know what tequila is. But I think it's grown so much. I mean, like I said, when I started bartending or when I was in college, we just had the gold stuff. We had weird mixto, something or
Yeah.
other. So I think consumers are very, very aware, of the different processes, and it's getting better. So people like yourself and your distillery, that are still doing those traditional methods is really, really cool. So thank you for that.
No, well, thank you. And now, my friend, you have an amazing and super hard job, which is educate and spread the word of how good tequila is made and what the people should be looking for. I don't say my brands are the best. We have plenty of amazing products in the industry, but the important thing is for the consumers to know how to choose what they're drinking because we have a lot of over there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So
we just create the
they need.
platform, and you have an amazing team. Like I said, our mutual friend Carla, who connected us, who's on the El Tesoro team. When she's at the events, there's a line waiting to talk to her. So you all have some really good educators out there. Like I said, we just create the platform for everybody. But yeah,
Well,
congratulations
thank you
again.
for that. Thank
Cool.
you.
Well,
And congratulations to you. Great work.
thanks. So I fell in love with tequila about 10 years ago, and then I just started to, like I said, I drank the Patron and all the, the well-known stuff, and then I just started to discover other tequilas and other nuances, and then I just fell in love with the people and the culture and the food and the music, and everything like that. And people are always asking me, they're like, why are you the guy doing these events? And like I said, I've just fell in love with everything that tequila and now mezcal has to offer. And it's just such a great, cool category. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. We do other events and they're a little more subdued and kind of buttoned up, but the agave festivals, when the people come in and the brands come in and the entrepreneurs come in, it's just, they talk like you. It's that passion, it's that family. And that's what's like, it's kind of addicting. You can't not be
Yes.
excited to be there. And it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's an addiction, and not only because of the alcohol. It's an addiction, a real addiction.
Again, Jenny, thank you for your time, and I'm glad we got to make this work.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And have a great day and have a great tequila as well.
Awesome. You as well. Thanks everybody for listening.